Hello, friends. Good morning, and welcome back to the podcast Elaborations with E. My name is Ava, and I am so incredibly happy to be back behind the mic and sharing with you today. We have so much in store going forward, and I'm really happy to get back to this podcast. But you may have noticed that it has been a long while since I uploaded my last episode. So I want to be forthcoming and let you know that I intentionally took some breathing room for myself to figure out some organizational things in my life, with my personal life, with some other irons that I have in the fire, and most especially and most importantly, with planning the growth of this podcast. I took some time to sit down with myself and map out where I wanted to take this show, including the specific topics that I want to cover going forward and how to structure everything for the rest of the year so that I can get a podcast structure that I can take with me even into 2027. And that time spent away from recording was completely for the benefit of being able to return to this space as my best self with a clear idea on exactly what I want to talk about and what I envisioned for this podcast and the rest of Elaborations with E. So, if you are still here, thank you so much for your patience because I am so ready to get back to this and to share all of the amazing things that I have coming for you for the rest of this year and every little bit and piece and step along the way for expanding the brand that is Elaborations with E. And as always on this podcast, we talk about spirituality, manifestation, and so much more in practical and grounded ways that we can actually apply to our daily lives. And today is no different because we are diving into a topic that is one of the most requested, most debated, most talked about, and if I'm being completely honest, most misunderstood and misinterpreted areas of manifestation. And that, my friends, is manifesting a specific person, or SP for short. And this topic is not new. You can go on TikTok, you can go on YouTube, you can even Google it or search it up on DuckDuckGo or Bing or anywhere. And you can just type in manifesting an SP. And so much content will pop up for you, from YouTube videos to TikTok videos to pages on Instagram and so much more. And manifesting a specific person is nothing new in the manifestation community. What we consider to be new age is actually just an expansion of what was considered new thought in the 30s and 40s and 50s. But the reason I want to talk about specifically manifesting a specific person and some of the rhetoric surrounding it that has actually led to more of a negative outcome, I guess, or negative mindsets towards manifesting a specific person is because of something that I saw on social media earlier this year. It was a post from a manifestation content creator on TikTok that actually used to be someone that I called a friend. And her post said this: if he doesn't want me, as in her specific person, he is simply misinformed. My assumptions override his confusion. And things like that aren't new to me. I've seen it before with specific, not going to point any fingers, but specific content creators on YouTube and content creators on TikTok. And when I read that coming from her, especially because she has spoken out about this kind of rhetoric before, my heart felt like it was dropping into my gut. And I felt this like weird cognitive dissonance watching someone that I once considered close to me spouting this rhetoric. Because in manifestation, we talk about having a high self-concept, we talk about feeling this higher sense of self-worth, but there is a very thin line between knowing your worth and having what is called an inflated spiritual ego. And this can happen with anything you're manifesting. You'll get into this ego space instead of this actual authentic space. And it can come from really, really wanting that job or that car or that new house or a specific amount of money. And then when you see that it's not here yet, you'll kind of go, well, wait a minute, I've been affirming, I've been writing my affirmations, I've been journaling on this daily, I've been sitting in a room and repeating affirmations 1,000 times, I've put things under my pillow, why isn't it here yet? And a lot of times people do this, especially with manifesting money and manifesting a specific person, but you see it a lot, especially in the manifesting an SP space, because people will say, oh, well, my SP doesn't have free will. So today we're going to elaborate on why these assumptions absolutely do not override someone else's free will, and why focusing on overriding someone's confusion might actually be making you the red flag in your own manifestation journey. So, we have a lot to unpack. So without further ado, let's dive right in. So we'll start here with the free will versus assumption debate. And we're going to look at the foundation. Many people in the modern day New Thought community, especially those following the teachings of Neville Goddard, Florence Scovel Shinn, Joseph Murphy, and others who have gained popularity ever since the 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, and so on, close in on this idea that feeling is the secret, which is a concept from a seminar by Neville Goddard himself. I almost said the word similar and seminar at the same time, so that's why I tripped over that word. But Neville Goddard held several different seminars throughout his teaching practice, and he was a Barbadian New Thought leader who interpreted the Bible, and he spoke about different things with what we now consider the law of assumption, which is just one out of the many laws of the universe, up there with the law of attraction, which, if you've ever heard of the book The Secret by Rhonda Byrne, that is one of the most popular books on law of attraction. And the law of attraction and the law of assumption, along with several other universal laws, such as the law of duality, the law of polarity, all exist in the same sphere. But if you go on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram, you will see a lot of discourse that says that the law of attraction and the law of assumption are two different things. I almost said the law of attachment because I was thinking of attachment, because this really does have a lot to do with attachment, especially when manifesting something innately specific, like a specific person or a specific amount of money. There is an attachment to the object of your desire, right? And all it really is desire. But Neville Goddard spoke of something called feeling is the secret, where you are initiating your emotions into the idea that you have what you desire already. It's almost as though you are feeling the feelings of a person who would have those things. Feeling the feelings of being someone who makes 6 figures a year. Feeling the feelings of being someone who has that successful relationship. And feeling it as though it's already happened, because feeling into that experience makes it something that is almost guaranteed to become a lived experience. Okay? But there's a lot of nuance with that, so we're going to be unpacking that as well. And he also talks about other concepts such as the pearl of great price, which is not a physical thing, but it is something that you buy, so to speak, when you give up certain things to become a better version of yourself. When you give up idolatry to recognize that you are one with the source that creates. And when you give up these concepts such as relying on tarot readings or relying on anything that is external to you, and you realize that you have more control over your own personal narrative than something external and advice that you were given. That is what he means by the pearl of great price. And he also promoted a technique called the state akin to sleep, or SATS, which is a process of visualizing your desired result with all 5 senses and living from the assumption that it is truth. And as I said earlier, thereby you manifest that into reality by repeating this process nightly and staying persistent in the same visualization. And like I said, there's a little bit more nuance to it that we will be unpacking. But all of these concepts coined by Neville Goddard are still concepts that many new thought promoters will speak on. Many content creators on YouTube use the teachings of Neville Goddard to then interpret them in their own ways and push this rhetoric that if you're manifesting a specific person, they don't have free will because you are the creator of your own universe. You are the god of your own reality. Everyone is you pushed out, so everyone is thereby an extension of you. And everyone is you pushed out is another Neville Goddard concept where everyone reflects back to you the ways in which you think, believe, and act and assume about the world around you and about yourself. So people can mirror back to you and reflect back to you the way that you think about things, the way that you think about them, the way that you think about yourself. And every interaction that you have is going to be an interaction for you to understand how you actually operate within the world. But where people go astray and where it gets a little toxic is when people apply these principles, these concepts, to a specific person as if that person is a puppet in their reality. And I want to say that you cannot override someone else's soul level free will. Because people will use the concept such as feeling is the secret and everyone is you pushed out to justify the belief that if someone rejects you, they have just not received your new assumption. Or if someone rejects you, they're confused. And you need to assume harder. You need to stay persistent in your assumed belief. You need to stay persistent in that affirmation that Joe Smith over here really wants to be with you. And Joe doesn't have any free will. And Joe is a puppet in your life. You are controlling Joe. And you are making Joe want you. And you can't do that. Because if you are manifesting a specific person, the grounded truth is this. Whether this person is an ex or a crush, or you're repairing a family or business dynamic, or you're manifesting your friend to be more than a friend, you must recognize that they are a sentient being with their own path, which includes their own beliefs, their own assumptions, their own actions, their own goals. And you are also just as much of a player in their life as they are a player in yours. As in, if you are writing the script of your own life, they are someone who is an actor in your play, but you are also an actor in theirs. Okay? So when we say things like, they are just confused, we are running our own versions of the manifestation game from a place of deep insecurity and ego. Because if you genuinely believed that you were a high value person and you used things like saying that you're a queen or a king or your highness or anything like that, and you really believed that you were high value, would you need to override someone else's confusion about you? If you genuinely believed that you were high value, would you obsess over overriding someone's confusion about you? Or would you simply accept that if they do not see your value, they are not the right match for the version of you that exists right now, nor the version that exists in your desired reality? Let me sum that up a little bit. If you genuinely believed that you were a high value person, would you feel a need to override someone's confusion? Or would you accept that if they do not see your value, they are not meant to be in your life? Or they are not meant to be in your life in the way that you desire them to be? So let's take that question and move into the next topic point, which is the process of shifting the focus and recognizing the core principles. So now that we understand that we cannot override someone else's free will, how do we actually manifest a relationship without being manipulative? It all dials down to recognizing the process. Now, let me be clear here. I'm not here to give you a 3-step method to get your ex back in 3 days. I'm also not here to help you manifest anyone who is already in a relationship. And I'm not here to condone that or help you manifest anything superficial. I also don't believe in one-size-fits-all blueprints or anything considered manipulation. But what I am here to do is give you a basic set of core principles that you can follow for the process of manifestation. And you are allowed to interpret this as you see fit and adapt it to your own self and your circumstances. From manifesting an SP to manifesting money or securing a job, whatever it is. And you can add your own extra steps and meet yourself where you are on your own unique journey. But these are going to be the core pillars of how you can manifest anything in your life. But for this episode, we're talking about it in the context of manifesting a specific person. Number 1, you want to take the focus completely off of the person or thing. Because when you are too focused on things like, why hasn't this person texted me back yet? Or why did they reject me? What are they thinking about me? Why is it taking so long to manifest this person or thing? You're putting that person on a massive pedestal. You're putting them on a pedestal and you're inflating them up so much that you are separating yourself from them in this way that says they are outside of me. They are higher than me. They are more important than me. And you're going to get their attention. But because you are putting them up on this pedestal, you are standing below them as if you are an obsessed fan looking up at them and wearing this metaphorical sign around your neck that screams, "Notice me." And guess what? The person that you are manifesting will notice you, but not in the way that you want them to. They are going to look down and see someone that they maybe don't want to be around. They will feel that heavy energetic disconnect, and they will not even take the liberty of talking to you because of it. Because what happens with that is that you are sending out a frequency, and you are vibrating at a level of lack. And you are shouting to the universe that you don't have what you want, and the universe is answering you back and reaffirming that. And when we do that, we disconnect even further from what it is that we want. Number 2, let's focus on sinking into the feeling over prioritizing the face. So instead of obsessing over the physical person, focus on how you want to feel in a relationship that you are trying to manifest. How do you want to feel? If you're repairing a relationship, do you want to be respected? Do you want to feel wanted? Do you want to feel as though that person wants the repair as well? Do you want it to be abundantly clear that you are working towards a repair goal? If you are building a business dynamic, do you want things to feel collaborative and mutually respectful, even if there are going to be times where you disagree? And in a romantic relationship, do you want to feel loved, wanted, admired, adored? Do you want to feel as though your existence is inspirational to your person? Do you want to feel safe and secure in every connection that you are bringing into your life? Once you answer those questions, I want you to focus on the feeling of security. I want you to focus on the feeling that you desire to feel, because those feelings are going to tell you exactly where your vibrational match is and what your internal vibration looks like. And yes, I'm using the word vibration because everything has a frequency resonance to it. And everything resonates on a certain frequency with our intuition and with our senses, with our 5 dominant senses: sight, smell, touch, taste, and sound. We have those dominant, tangible senses. And then we have other senses too. But when everything feels like it resonates with us, we feel a sense of peace, we feel a sense of joy, we feel a sense of calm, we feel this sense of comfort, right? So if that's how we want to feel, we need to focus on those feelings. And if we want to feel those things, we also must work on being a person that is like that as well. What do I mean by that? I mean that if you want a safe and secure relationship, you must first become a safe and secure person. I know that sounds like work, and it is, but you have to look at yourself and say, I would feel safe and secure around myself if I was someone else. And if you want a beautiful and loving relationship, you must become a person who shows compassion and empathy. You must be that kind of person naturally. You must be that kind of person that you would want to turn to lean on. Because you cannot expect that same level of energy from someone that you are manifesting into your life if you are not also willing to give that type of energy. Because it is a two-way street. And that does not mean that you need to overhaul yourself overnight. Take the time. Do it while you are actively working towards the goal. Be in a relationship and be actively healing yourself. But put the behaviors and the mindset of that person into perspective and take actions towards becoming more of a vibrational match to what it is that you want. And crucially, and let me make this so clear, you must listen to someone else's boundaries. The word no is a full sentence. If you genuinely love your specific person or you feel any genuine positive emotion towards them at all, you are going to realize and honor and recognize their boundaries. Because if you cannot respect their boundaries right now, how are you going to be in a healthy relationship with them if you do wind up manifesting that relationship? And the third principle that I want to leave you with is check your checklist. We all have this mental checklist of the perfect person, right? We probably even wrote down what the perfect person looked like, what they smelled like, what their hair looked like, what color their eyes were, how tall they were when we were teenagers. I mean, I'm calling myself out because I know I did it. I know I did it because I grew up loving movies like Practical Magic and the whole Amas Veritas spell that she did and everything. But coming out of that, I realized that a checklist sometimes isn't actually what I want. Because when you're manifesting a specific person who looks amazing on paper, but fundamentally does not treat you well or align with your core values, that should be your light bulb moment. And you should be asking yourself, are you manifesting a real person, or are you just manifesting the idea of this person? Especially if this person actually exists physically, but they do not align with you fundamentally. Then they do not actually exist in the reality of what you need. And in that regard, you are in an unrequited love affair with a ghost. I know that sounds a little extreme, but hear me out here. Let me ask you a critical question. Would you rather be in an unrequited love affair with a ghost? Would you rather be in a relationship with your favorite fantasy character? Before you answer that question, I know exactly what you're thinking. You're probably saying, yeah, I would probably love to be with my favorite fantasy boyfriend or girlfriend or them friend because they align perfectly with the kind of person that I want to be with. You're probably thinking, yeah, I would love to date Resand from A Court of Thorns and Roses. Any fans of A Court of Thorns and Roses, you know what I'm talking about. Or if you're into anything popular, whether it's Resand from ACOTAR, or it's Xaden Ryerson from Fourth Wing, or it's any other popular fantasy character. Even some of you who still like Twilight and might goo goo gaga over Edward, okay? Like, you're probably thinking, yeah, I would want my boyfriend to maybe be like that, or I would want my partner to maybe be like that, or if you are into women and you have a specific female crush, you're probably thinking of that too. And I was using the male examples because those are the most known probably, but drop female crushes in the comments and we'll include those too. You know, I'm very inclusive. I myself am pansexual, so yeah, and I'm also non-binary, so I get it. I really do. But what I'm really asking when I ask you if you would rather be in that relationship is this. Would you rather be in a relationship that isn't real, or would you rather be in a relationship that is? And to give you a personal anecdote on this is exactly how I manifested my own fiance over a year ago. In fact, we recently celebrated our 1-year anniversary at the end of May, and we moved in together shortly afterward. But I manifested him once I stopped obsessing over a specific face or aesthetic, and I focused instead on how I wanted to feel in my perfect relationship. I defined what that looked like on a day-to-day basis. How secure I felt, how loved I felt, and how deeply adored I felt. I visualized what it meant to have that person taking care of me, and equally my desire to love and take care of them in return. I focused on what it really meant to become not only a person who is married, because I was manifesting a lifelong partner and now I got the ring, but what it meant to be marriage material. I asked myself, what would my daily household look like? What would it feel like? What would the energy be like in the house? What would it look like when we're sharing household chores? What would it look like when we're giggling while folding laundry? What would it look like when we're watching shows together, and how would it feel? What's the vibe? And I hate to use that word, but like, what's the vibe? Really? And I put myself into the embodied state of being a wife. I didn't just do it to make a future person happy, and I didn't just think about that future person that was going to make me happy. I asked myself, what does it feel like to be the wife of the person that I want as my long-term partner? What does my husband or wife's energy feel like? What does my partner's energy feel like? And how confident am I showing up as their partner? it was not solely about who this partner was going to be. It was not solely about whether or not they were going to be non-binary, gender fluid, a man, a woman, what they were going to have as far as their body attributes. That didn't matter to me. What mattered to me was, how do I feel? How am I showing up? And is it in balance? Is it aligned with them? Are they aligned with me? Do we share the core values, the same core values on marriage, children, life? And what does that look like when I embody it within myself without even being in that relationship yet? And once I got down to that, I was able to actually manifest the love of my life. And you might hear me talk about him a lot. You really might, because he's my rock. He's my best friend. I have several best friends, but he's my best friend. But moving on to the final talking point of this episode before we get to our close. Self-concept versus inflated ego. We will be doing a lengthier episode on self-concept at a future date on the calendar, maybe at the end of this month, depending on how soon I really want to talk about this topic and really dive into it. Because I think I've talked about it before on this podcast, and I know I've talked about it on the Skellington Grin podcast before, but I definitely want to do a refresher course. But for today's context, let us start here. A healthy self-concept is authentic. An inflated ego is defensive. The ego, especially when manifesting a specific person, says this: they rejected me, so they must be wrong, confused, or stupid. But a healthy self-concept says, they rejected me. Okay, I know that I am still worthy of love and connection. And if this person does not see that, I am okay, and I am still whole. And even if this person does see that, but they're just not the right person for me, that's okay. You're able to move on. You're able to say, okay, what attributes of this person did I walk away with really wanting? And what makes me desire this person so much? And you're able to apply that to the actual person that is meant for you. And you can say, okay, these are the positive attributes that this person has. This is what I want more of. This is how I want to feel around this. And then boom, you get into the feeling of what it actually feels like to be with your desired person. And I'm not going to say that you can't manifest a specific person down to the T. I've seen people do it. But for the sake of this episode, we're going to talk about it in a little bit more nuance, okay? Because when you try to manifest someone by telling yourself that they have no choice but to love you, you are engaging in spiritual manipulation. And it is a big red flag. Because the magic doesn't happen when you are obsessed with the person. And the magic doesn't happen when that person is obsessed with you. We just had a movie called Obsession come out this year. Go see it if you want to know kind of what it would look like to wish for somebody to be obsessed with you, I guess. Because that's what the rhetoric of people manifesting specific persons and wanting them to be obsessed with them and all of that really looks and feels like. And it's a horror movie. Okay? And I'm not just saying that to be, I'm not saying that to be cruel or crude or crass or harsh or blunt, but it kind of is. So maybe I might actually watch that movie and then maybe write about it and talk about how it's a masterclass of the SP manifestation gone wrong or something. I don't know. But the magic happens when you move into what many spiritual and mental health coaches like to call non-attachment. The first time I ever heard non-attachment was from one of my favorite creators on Instagram, Lucy Lampy. And She is a mother of 5, I think, and she's absolutely fantastic, phenomenal. And she talks about the embodied feminine, and she and her partner, they talk about embodiment within the masculine and feminine, and how to really show up as a healthy version of that, being able to accept both the light and dark. But non-attachment does not mean that you do not want the person. It does not mean that you do not desire what it is that you desire. It means that your self-worth is not tied to a specific person's approval. It means that your self-worth is not tied to whether or not you manifest that relationship or that car or that house or that money. And there is a beautiful phrase that many manifestation teachers use: this or something better. But let's expand that to say this and something better. Because when you allow for something better to come into play, you open the door for the universe to do one of 3 things. Number 1, the universe can bring that SP into your life because you have finally become the version of yourself that they naturally attract to. Number 2, the universe can bring someone you have not even met yet who blows that original specific person completely out of the water. Or number 3, the universe can bring them both into play for you to decide between, as they are both a match for you. But you have the decision to make on who is the better match. Okay? And that brings me to my conclusion and final thoughts. As we wrap up this episode, I want you to remember this as you move forward. Rejection is often just redirection. And if you are relentlessly pursuing someone who has said no, you are missing the forest for the trees. So I'm going to give you a little bit of homework. Going forward, the things that I want you to take away from this episode is that I want you to work on your internal dialogue. I want you to speak kindly to yourself and build that foundation where you genuinely believe that you are meant to have healthy and thriving relationships. And then, and this is the hard part, but it's the most rewarding part, I want you to surrender. I want you to let go of the where, the when, the what, the how, and the who, and the why. Actually, let me take that back. I want you to focus on what you desire and get so clear about it. But I want you to surrender the why, the how, the when, the where, and the who. Just enough to be able to take a deep breath. And then I want you to move forward and realize this. When you stop trying to override that person's free will, and you start focusing on your own vibration, you become an absolute magnet. Whether it is that specific person or someone who is even more beautifully aligned with you, what is truly meant for you will never pass you up. Thank you so much for joining me today on this wonderful and extensive episode of Elaborations with E. I hope that this episode gave you a little bit of grounded perspective on how to approach your desires with grace instead of force. And I would love to hear your thoughts on this. As I said earlier in the episode, I love opening up discussion. I love being challenged. I love it when people bring me their perspectives and maybe we can integrate it and we can make something better out of it. And like I said, comment anything that you want to comment on this podcast episode. The comments are open right there on YouTube. And I would also love to hear if you have ever felt that tug of being just a little too attached to a specific person or outcome. You can also check the description for my Instagram handle and the link to my personal website, where you can buy one-on-one tarot readings with yours truly. And I will be talking a little bit more in another episode about tarot, and we might be doing a Tarot 101 refresher. Because yes, your girl also does read tarot cards. I've been doing it for 8 years, and I'm finally getting back to that as well. Yay! But for now, I'm going to leave you here. Until next time, keep manifesting from a place of love, not control. Take care and have a great rest of your weekend. I'll see you again on Tuesday. Bye.